I want you to do two things for me. Give me a quick background into the whole investigation and tell me what to make of the OSP's actions and the recent response from the SML.
Thank you very much, Salom. SML has always been speaking and churning falsehood, only that this time that falsehood is coming from a lawyer instead of their communication people and their media or pro-SML media folks. The story is quite simple. In February 2017, we had a new government takeover a month earlier, and a company named Strategic Mobilization Enhancement Limited, SML. And then a few months to 3-4 months later, this company, without ever doing any work anywhere, was shortlisted for a single source procurement contract with the GRA. And that was when the Public Procurement Authority raised red flags. There are procedures and then qualifications for this single source procurement. It had to be an emergency situation, or that no any other company could provide this service, or that the SML had proprietary rights over this service, which we know the company had never done anywhere and could not have had any proprietary rights. What it did was just to buy meters and install them and some other services. So that is when it happened, how it started. And on 3 different occasions, SML, the GRA rejected, the Public Procurement Authority rejected GRA's application to use single source. 3 occasions, they wrote first, the PPA said no, this company has no experience, it has no track record of ever doing this work, so we cannot give you the approval. They wrote a second letter, PPA said no, the GRA wrote a third letter, PPA said no, and then the GRA said to hell with PPA. It proceeded to award a number of contracts. The first contracts were at a port. They called them external price verification and transaction audit contracts at the ports. These are things that the GRA's customs division was already doing. If you read President Akufo-Addo's white paper after the KPMG report, that white paper said those services were already built into GRA's ICOMs. So they were redundant. That was why the GRA proceeded to discontinue those contracts in 2024. But not just the discontinuation, we have paid over 500 million Ghana cedis for that component of the contract. Now, if you go to every depot where these big tankers we see in town load petroleum product, there are GRA officials there every single day. In fact, for anybody to be able to load fuel or petroleum product from any of the big depot tanks at the depots we see, then the keys to those depots are kept by the GRA officers, customs officers. If they do not open, nobody can load, which means that to be able to steal a product, then GRA people have to be there. Also, the depot officers have their meters. They're able to take stock of the petroleum product because some people come to store the product there. So if it gets missing, they will be in trouble. So it is in their interest to be able to account for the product. Then when the tankers come loading, different companies come to load, there are meters that are calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority every 6 months. Then in the past, some people would leave these products and go and sell. Some politically aligned OMCs, oil marketing companies, would leave these products, go and sell, and not bring back the taxes. So the GRA and NPA introduced a system called Enterprise Relational Database Management System, that if you want to load petroleum products anywhere in this country, you go through that system to load. If you owe taxes, you'll be locked out. You can't even place an order. This solve that problem of under declaration and people not bringing back taxes and all, because the GRA has to clear you on that platform, the NPA has to clear you, and the BDCs or those that own those petroleum products and even the depots have to clear you before you can load. Besides that, the final permission to load is authorized by GRA people. When you go through all this system, it is printed and given to you to get to the loading gantry and load, where there are meters there. These meters record the volumes lifted. It is transmitted through this ERDMS, transmitted into the customs system, which they call ICOMS. So when we spoke to the customs people, they said that once you are able to account for your volume, then you can account for your taxes. Then they employed the services of two companies, Nationwide Technologies Limited and Rock Africa, which were also undertaking fuel marking and then the tracking of these trucks to avoid or curb diversion and dilution. All of these were put in place and the benefits were obvious. Then a company called SML, which had changed its name from SML to SML, was brought into the field to also do the measuring of the volumes. The interesting thing is that SML's measurements of those petroleum volumes have never, not even a single month, been used by the GRA to collect taxes. When we investigated, we found out that the meters SML brought were, they use ultrasound technology. They are installed outside the pipeline, so they don't take as accurate readings as the existing ones. So GRA has never used them for tax purposes. Now they claim they use them for revenue assurance. Like assurance is just like auditing to monitor to ensure that something isn't going wayward. But if you are bringing meters to police the existing ones, then common sense should dictate to whoever is employing them to bring superior technology to police what is already there. You don't bring less efficient meters. And then if you read the KPMG report, they said in the mix, SML recorded the least readings within the period KPMG audited. We found out, and then we confronted SML, which had put on its website that it was checking the under declaration or under reporting. It was checking diversion and dilution. When we went to them with this evidence, the company admitted it lied and deleted that portion of the claim from its website. Second, the company made claims that they had helped save Ghana 3 billion cedis within the period.
Yeah.
This was also false, even though they got a lot of the media, including Daily Graphic, to put it on the front page. When we confronted them, they could not stand by these claims. They said it was the media that got them wrong. And I said, well, as I speak to you this morning, it is on your website. So granted that the media got you wrong, why do you put an erroneous impression or publication about you on your website? And that is why you see on that in that documentary, Christian Tetesoti saying that, well, we do not know about them. It is important to note that to provide revenue assurance and auditing services, you need to be licensed by the Chartered Institute of Accountants Ghana. And the act says that failure to obtain this license and practice, you could be jailed or fined or suffer both punishments. SML does not have that license to do the work it is doing. So it is operating illegally if you take aside all the other breaches. And then finally, whilst all of these were going on, we have a man called Ken Oforiatta who wrote a letter stating that he had determined that SML's services should be expanded to the petroleum production sector and also the mining sector. And the petroleum production contract said that every barrel of oil Ghana produced, SML should be entitled to $0.75 per barrel. $0.75 per barrel. This means that at the time Ghana was producing between 160,000 and 170,000, we did our calculation using the lower value, 160,000 barrels per day. SML, every single day that we produced oil, if that contract had gone through without our investigation, SML would have been making 120,000 cedis. Sorry, dollars. 120,000 US dollars every single day we produced oil. This company had no hand in the production. This company did not put the oil in the ground, but through a contract instigated by Ken Ofori-Atta, they were to have $120,000 every single day we produced oil. As if that was not enough, he said we should go to the mining sector so that SML, through its services, should be entitled to 0.75% of total production. So this year that we are getting billions and billions of revenue from gold alone, not to talk of the other minerals that we also mine in this country, this company would have been making so much just by perhaps putting some useless meters somewhere. And at the end of the day, the company would have been taking credit for this incremental growth we are seeing in the mining sector. So, Selom, if you ask me, this is a company that was brought in. You heard their lawyer saying, well, and SML has always insisted that they are paid based on output and their payment is not fixed. This is a lie the company has peddled from day one till now. The contracts are there. The lawyer or whoever speaks for SML, get them to read a portion of the contract that talks about fees. If you take the downstream petroleum sector contract, every liter of fuel that anybody buys or that even goes to the pumps, SML is entitled to 5 pesos per liter. And 5 pesos looks very small until you multiply it by the billions of liters we consume. The ports contracts too, they were entitled to specific percentages from the imports that came. They didn't have to even do the importation. It turned out those services were redundant and SML could not challenge the findings of KPMG and the President Akufo-Addo's white paper. So if you ask me, this is a company that was brought in and modeled along the lines of that document we saw, Ejapade, like transferring public resources, public wealth in the mining sector, in the petroleum sector upstream where we produce, the downstream where we import and consume, and the ports. These are about the most assured and constant revenue streams of the country.